Bill and Ben. Silly games.
Bill and Ben. The Flower Pot Man. The Flower Pot Bill and Ben. The Flower Pot Man. Bill and Ben. The Flower Pot Man. They're playing in the garden with their friends all day long. The Flower Pot Man. The Flower Pot Man. The Flower Pot Man.
It was a beautiful day in the garden. Weed was enjoying the warm sunshine when along came Slow Coach. "Good morning, Slow Coach," said Weed. "Morning, Weed," said Slow Coach. Suddenly, a loud snore came from Bill's flower pot. "Don't tell me those two sleepyheads haven't got up yet," said Slow Coach. He knocked his head against Bill's pot. Come on, he called. "Rise and shine." Slowly, Bill and Ben appeared. Weed thought she'd make up an excuse for the flower pot men so that they wouldn't seem lazy. "Oh, they haven't been asleep," she said. They've been playing a new game." "A new game?" said Slow Coach. "What's it called? Hunt the Snore? Hide and Snore?" Bill and Ben couldn't think of an answer. "Flob. Mumbled Bill. "Flub. Mumbled Ben. Just then, Whoops popped his head out from the compost heap. "Excuse me," he said. "If it's games you want, you can't beat a good game of Count the Pebble." "Flubba-dubba-lay it?" asked Ben. "How do you play it?" said Whoops. "Simple. You just find a nice, interesting pebble, and then... this is the good bit. You count it." The flower pot men whizzed off to find a nice, interesting pebble. It didn't take long. "Flubba-dubba-lob," called Bill, and he held up the pebble. "Flob," he counted. But Ben took it right out of his hand. "Flub," said Ben. Then Bill snatched it back again. "Flob," he said. "Flob," said Ben, taking it back. Unfortunately, they both soon agreed that counting a pebble wasn't a very exciting game. Bill tossed the pebble away. "Flubba-dubba boring," said Ben finally. Then they both looked up in surprise as they heard someone giggling. "Hee, you are a silly pair," said Scamper. "Flob?" said Bill. "Flobba-dilly?" "Imagine playing a silly game like that," said Scamper. "You ought to be playing something that's more fun. Something like Hunt the Nut." "Flubba-day it?" asked Ben. "It's easy," said Scamper. "You just hunt for nuts, and when you find one... ooh! What excitement!" Bill and Ben thought the game of Hunt the Nut would be great fun. They set off to search the garden. But they couldn't find a nut anywhere. The poor flower pot men were rather upset about the lack of nuts, so they decided to have a look next door. Rose called out to them. "I say, you there?" Bill and Ben stopped to see what she wanted. "What are you two doing cluttering up my garden?" asked Rose. "Flobba-dame," said Bill. "Playing a game?" asked Rose. "Flubba-fun," said Ben. "Well, it doesn't look like much fun to me," said Rose. Then Bill had an idea. Maybe Rose knew a good game. "Flubba-dubba-dame, Rose?" he asked. Rose laughed. Me? Know any games? Ha! Games are for those who have nothing better to do with their time. Bill and Ben decided that they might as well go home. On the way, Bill picked up a twig lying on the path and threw it over the garden fence. It gave him an idea for a game. He and Ben could take turns throwing the twig and race each other to find it first. The winner could have the next throw. They raced each other into the garden, to find Thistle wrestling with the twig caught up in her leaves. Hey! Who's throwing things at me? She demanded. Stupid twig! Seeing Thistle struggling with the twig was so funny that Bill and Ben laughed till their sides hurt. When Ben had finally finished laughing, he grabbed the twig away from Thistle. There's no need to be so rough, she snapped. But the flowerpot man had already disappeared. It was now Ben's turn to throw the twig. Flubber-duh! He grunted. Once again, they raced away. But when they got to the garden next door, their twig had gone. So the flowerpot men had to start again and went back to their own garden. They found another twig, and this time Bill threw it. But just as they were about to race after it, Bill tripped Ben up with his foot. Then Bill dashed off to find the twig first. But when they reached the garden next door, their twig had disappeared again. Flubber-dawn! Puzzled Bill. Ben couldn't imagine where it had gone. But he did have a plan. They would throw lots of twigs over the fence. They couldn't all disappear. So Bill and Ben armed themselves with piles of twigs and began to throw them all over the fence. Flubber-doo! Flubber-wee! Went Bill. Flubber-hup! Flubber-bye! Went Ben. When the last of the twigs had sailed over the fence, Bill and Ben whizzed away to find them. The flowerpot men couldn't believe it. Once again, their twigs had all disappeared. They decided to tell Weed. It can't be easy to play chase the twig when your twigs keep disappearing, said Weed. But then Pry arrived. Oh, hello, Pry, said Weed. How's your nest building going? Well, I was finding loads of twigs next door, said Pry. But there don't seem to be so many now. Flubberwigs a door? Gasped Bill. Flubber-lubber-wigs? Demanded Ben. Hadn't Pry noticed their twigs? One twig looks much like another to me, Ben, said Pry. But there are lots of them. Suddenly, Bill and Ben knew exactly where their twigs had gone, and started laughing. Ha 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 ha! Then Weed began giggling as well. I don't see what's so funny, said Pry huffily. Anyway, I've got better things to do than stand here all day. I've got a nest to build. At that, Bill and Ben stopped laughing. Flubber-dest? Asked Bill. Flubber-delp? Asked Ben. Helping Pry build a nest might be a good game. Of course you can help, said Pry. Delighted, the flowerpot men zipped away to begin collecting things. It didn't take Bill and Ben long to bring Pry all the twigs she needed. Pry thanked them for their help. Would you like to see the finished nest? She asked. Whoa, floppily, said Bill. Ben agreed that it was a lovely idea. Hold on then, said Pry, and carried them up to the nest. Well, what do you think? She asked. Bill and Ben found the nest extremely comfortable. It even had a couple of blankets. They both snuggled down inside and filled the nest. But Pry looked at them in dismay. How am I supposed to fit in? Poor Pry. The flower pot men were so comfortable in her new nest, and they'd made themselves so tired helping her, that they'd fallen asleep. Come on now, you've got your own pots to go to, Pry began. But she didn't really have the heart to wake them. Instead, she flew away and left Bill and Ben to their dreams. She would take them back to their pots when they woke up. The end.
Bill and Ben, the flower pot men. Bill and Ben, the flower pot men. They've been playing in the garden, playing with their friends. Now they'll be sleeping in their pots all night long.